Hi, everyone. This is Ray with Racing Magpie. I just wanted to take some time to go through the Sinew Fund project, specifically the application. I know that when it comes time to it opening up and then the deadline coming up it usually is open for about 2 months. We all kind of rush at the end there, and I wanted to just give people an idea of what they're looking forward to when they start that application. So. I am currently on our Racing Magpie website here, racingmagpie.org, and then I've clicked over to our Sinew Fund page within our public program section. So this is where you'll find everything you kind of need to know about the Sinew Fund, whether you're familiar with it or not. So a little bit about the program. It is a grant program that is meant to fund Oshete Chacoin visual creatives wanting to do what's the word I'm looking for? Community-based art projects or public-facing art projects, I suppose. Anything that kind of gets people out of their studios and into the community a bit more, interacting with people, interacting with the space that they're in. Um, yeah, I feel like we all have so many ideas about fun things we could do, interesting ideas we could do, whether it be, I don't know, a play you put up in your garage or a huge mural or some sort of community zine that you work on with youth in your crew. Um, we all have these ideas, but not necessarily the funding for that. And I feel like that's where the Sinew Fund can come in and lend a hand there. So we really only ask that it be for Ochete Shakowin visual creatives, as I said, based anywhere in the US that want to do project work within Lakota communities. So that's like Western South Dakota area. This program came to be from a partnership with the Andy Warhol Foundation's Regional Regranting program. So we are one of 39 plus other cities and many other arts organizations doing something similar, trying to support the movement of independently organized, public-facing, artist-centered activity that just is meant to animate local and regional art scenes. So each of those art organizations and ourselves included have the core values of the Andy Warhol Original Regranting program, but we've made it our own and made it appropriate for our community. So on the website here, this is where we always have our current deadline or when the application will be opening up. So this changes throughout the year, obviously, because we do have 2 cycles. So grant funding here. As I said, we have 2 cycles, one in spring, one in fall, and then we provide up to $60,000 for the entire year. So we split that between 30,000 spring, 30,000 fall, and that could be for either individual projects or collaborative projects. So if you're applying as an individual, you can apply for $5,000. If you're applying for a collaborative project, you can apply for 10,000. And it really just breaks down award wise, just on depending on what projects have been submitted for that cycle. We've got more information here on what we fund and what we don't fund. So what we don't fund is individual projects or artists presenting their work exclusively. So like a solo exhibition in a gallery. Again, we want it to be a little more innovative to kind of get you out of your studio a little bit. Anything that's in a commercial gallery that doesn't have free public engagement, that's a really important stipulation there. It needs to be free to the community, free to the public. And then we also can't do any programming that is part of a nonprofit arts organization. Eligibility here, there's a lot here, but the main things are the applicant must be an enrolled member of or proved descendancy of an Ochete Shakowin tribe and hold active community connections. They must be at least 18 years old by the application deadline. And then the project work must occur within current day so-called Western South Dakota, so like Lakota communities. Another thing to note, if you are applying as a collaborative project, you'll have to nominate a lead organizer. This will be the person that essentially oversees the project and plays the vital role of communicating with the Sinew Fund staff. So they'll be receiving the grant funds, communicating with for grant reports, and then also, yeah, those are the main things. Obviously, the other collaborators are a part of it as well, but the lead organizer will be helping out in that regard. As far as valuation criteria, we like to put this on here because I think it's super important whenever I'm applying for a grant to know what the panelists are looking for. So you can make sure to really highlight those things within your application. So there are three main things, and they each hold different weight, but they're all very important. So what is the creative artistic impact? That's half of the your score. Your community engagement impact, that's 30% of your score. So how is it engaging with the communities and the place, land, the human, non-human relatives, whatever that may be. And then the feasibility, capability, and capacity. This is another important one, but it's 20% of your score. Essentially, has the applicant looked at the amount of funding they have and the amount of time they have, and have they created a project that is capable of being completed in that amount of time? So, um, just another thing to think of, because we could go really, really big with the project, and there could be a ton of moving parts and a bunch of rentals and spaces needed. But at the end of the day, we are limited to the budget that you're given and then that 1 year. So that's something we really look at. We have application documents here. These are all just supplemental things. So if you didn't want to start on your application right away, or you wanted to kind of like practice through, we do have sample applications for both the individual and collaborative projects. We have a project timeline template. So your project timeline and your budget narrative template, which is also here. You'll have to upload those separately into the application. So we created a template here that you can just make a copy of, download for yourself, edit it, rename it, save it, and then upload back into Submittable. We've also included a sample timeline here so you can kind of see what we're looking for. Super easy. You don't have to use this, but it's a good start. And then same with the budget. Pretty basic budget here. Your expenses. We do have a space for other project income. We don't necessarily, this isn't a requirement at all. In fact, we almost prefer that your project is covered by the funding from Sinew Fund. It makes it a lot easier. And also, again, it falls into that feasible capability capacity category. So another sample budget here, just so you can kind of see what we look for. Total expenses and then a request from Sinew Fund. Those should be the same as long as you don't have any other project income. And so it should total out to 0 at the end here. Again, just make a copy, download it, or make a copy or download it, edit it with your information, rename it, save it, upload it. So that's all there. This is our application submission section. This is the link that you will need to go to access the application. We use Submittable for this through the Andy Warhol Foundation. And there are many other grants that use Submittable. So if you already have a login, feel free to use that same one. Just make sure you're on our site here. If not, you'll have to make your own. Very easy. You can do it through Facebook or even Google. This is a space where we have consultations, like one-on-one consultations and information sessions. So this is where we'll put any upcoming like online info sessions and the Zoom links to those, any in-person ones. We always have one-on-one consultations while the grant is open. So for this fall 26 one, which is the one we're currently looking at, the application consultation page is open. So if I click that, it's super easy. It's just on Google. You will just pick a time that works for you, put your name, an email address, and then it'll add it as an appointment on your calendar. And so I'll get the same appointment and we can just chat about any questions you may have, brainstorm ideas, whatever it may be that you need help with. We also have a place for past information sessions, just in case you wanted to see what other people are asking. We have a little timeline here. This changes again every year depending on the cycle. So again, we're in 2026. So the spring one is here, we've passed, and then fall, we are currently in the middle of that. So August 13th coming up, and the notification of awards will go out in late September. We also have that information here, the grant award announcements. So we have a pretty quick turnaround. If you apply in spring, you'll be notified by mid-April. That's a little over a month after you apply. And then in fall, same, you'll be notified in late September. So a little over a month after you apply. And then once we've received your you've completed W-9 and then your grant agreement, award agreement, your check will be in the mail and then you can get started on your project. We have a really intense FAQ section here. I'll click that. So anything that people have asked, we've put in here and we've really tried to organize it in a way that makes sense to, I don't know, what you could possibly need. So if something isn't answered here, again, please feel free to just do a one-on-one consultation with us, or we have a little email address here that you can just reach out to if you have additional questions. I also wanted to highlight a little space here. Up here in our program, you can see past awarded projects. This is always really helpful for me just to kind of see what like the panelists have been interested in past years. We have new panelists every year, so they'll usually review the 2 grant cycles that we have each year. So new ones every year. It really just kind of depends on what they're looking for, but it goes all the way back to fall 2023. Yeah, just a good place to maybe get some ideas. So if we go all the way down to the bottom of the page here, we're going to click here to submit, and it will take us to our application. So again, it's on Submittable, racingmagpie.submittable.com/submit. You'll have to log in here. I've already logged in, so yours will look a little bit different if you haven't, but that's where you'll do that. And you'll go all the way down to the bottom here. And if the application is not open currently, you won't be able to click any of this, but you can see all this still. You just won't be able to click into the application. But the guidelines are here. We've got the website, an individual sample application, collaborative sample application, timeline template, budget template, and the scoring matrix. So just in case you wanted to reference those again. Let's click submit so we can enter the application. Again, all that supplemental information right at the top here. Really try to make it convenient for you so you don't have to go digging for a lot of stuff. Okay, so the actual application itself, I think is very easy. It's very, I mean, it's nothing too weird from your typical application. We'll ask for contact info, name, email, phone number, address, all of that, your tribal affiliation, and then a place for you to upload a copy of your tribal enrollment or proof of descendancy. So you can do that in these accepted file types. Another important question, are you applying as an individual or lead organizer? This is really, just make sure you're clicking the right one. There isn't a huge difference in the applications. They're all essentially the same info. It's just if you click the collaborative application, there's just more spaces for you to list out who your collaborators are and upload their bios and headshots. So as you can see, you'll list all your application or your collaborators there. So let's look through the collaborative one actually, because then you can kind of get an idea. Again, it's the exact same questions as the individual one. All right, please list the full names of each collaborator, separate each name by a comma, and then please explain your active community or connections to Lakota community. Limit is 100 words. It doesn't need to be super involved or descriptive, but just a rough general idea of what this kind of means to you and how you're connected to your community. Then from there, we'll go into project summary. This is really an important section for if you're awarded. So you'll see here, if selected for the award, your project summary will be publicized on the Sinew Fund website. So I would take a little time just like making sure that you like the title of your project and that your project summary is succinct enough, but also gives enough details so people can kind of understand what your project is, and then your start date and your end date. Again, if you're awarded, you will have a full year to complete your project. You don't have to take that full year. Some people finish early, and that's totally fine. But you do have the full year if you need it. So just pay attention to when your deadline is. So, for example, this one coming up is in August. The deadline is the 13th. And then people will be notified probably by September 30th. So I would say the project start date would be sometime in early October. And then however long I think the project will be, that's where I'll put the end date. All right. Now we get into the project description. This is where you can be more descriptive and really kind of give really good examples on what you're trying to do. So, what is the proposed project? How does this project involve the work practices of other individuals and or Ochete Sakowin people? How is your project innovative, experimental, and or risk-taking? Where will this project ideally take place? This is an important question. Just because it lets us know that you've thought about it. Nothing has to be set in stone, but if you've at least thought about like, ideally, this is where I would like it to be, my community's rec center or a school or a public park. Even if you don't have it like completely set in stone, it really does help the panelists kind of know that you've thought it through and you have a vision for it. So we always try to encourage people to put something there. A quick note, it is recommended that Racing Magpie not be the location of your project. There are, of course, exceptions, especially if you've talked with us beforehand. But for the most part, we really try to get people out in the community outside of here. How will your project be accessible to Lakota community? Why is it important for this project to occur? And then your project timeline. So again, that template up at the top, we've also got it down here. You can look through there. All you have to do is upload your information to it, resave it, and then upload it there. Very easy. Next, you're going to do your visual support materials. So it could be an image, web URLs, or videos. So like web links. It could be your work, or it could be work that will help inform the panelists about the direction your project is going to take. So for example, you wanted to make a really elaborate new teepee design or something, but you haven't made it yet. If you know someone who's made something similar that like could help people visualize, you could upload it here, but you would need to put it in the description what we're all looking at. Or of course, if it's in your own work, it's always helpful to put a name down there of your piece and what kind of inspired it. So you'll have to upload 5 of those. Again, very easy, just a quick description and then the upload. Next will be your bio and headshot. Bio, I feel like bios can feel really daunting, but honestly, 100 words is like, it goes so fast. Your name, where you're from, your tribal affiliation, your medium, how you got started in it, and any other kind of other information you want to include. It's always good to put that there. Just something short that lets us know who you are, and then a headshot. If you don't feel comfortable with your photo being displayed, that's totally fine. We have no issues with that. Maybe just put an image or something that feels represents you in a good way. And then if you do upload a photo, we just ask that it be only you in the photo. You'll also have to upload your collaborator bios here and their headshots. And we've listed enough space for 4 collaborators, I believe. So 5 people total. If you need more than that, we'll figure that out. We can send it maybe over email or something. Then from there, the last piece is your budget. So this is also really important. Make sure that you're uploading the budget for the correct amount. So if you're applying for an individual, 5,000, and as a collaborator, 10,000. Make sure to include a stipend for your work and any other artist work, materials, facility rentals, equipment rentals, production costs, marketing, reception, whatever it may be. Just try to be as detailed as you can with that. We totally understand that prices fluctuate and things are going to change as the year goes on, if you're awarded, and that's totally okay. This just gives us a good snapshot of, again, that you've thought it through and you have a really clear idea of hopefully how it's all going to work out. And last, we'll do your final submission checklist. This is just our way of just one last, like, let's just take a quick look again. Um, so does your project description clearly demonstrate a foundation in visual arts? Super important to look at. Did you upload your tribal ID or equivalent documentation? And again, you'll see that you can only click yes. There's no, because if you click no, that means you just have to go back and fix it. So have you included a community component in your description? So outreach, collaboration, or public benefit? Did you upload a completed timeline that fits within the grant year? Are all visual support materials uploaded and clearly labeled? And then have you uploaded the correct budget template for your project type? So again, individual projects, 5,000, collaborative projects, 10,000. From there, you can save your draft if you're not completely like ready to submit, or if you're just working on it a little at a time. It will save as you go along, but it's always good to just save it every once in a while as you're working. And then I'm going to click submit, and you will see that it's going to start yelling at me and telling me I have a ton more things to include. Hopefully you won't see all this red. I'm sure you won't, in fact, but whatever red spots you do see, if it doesn't let you submit, just make sure that you fix those and then try again. But yeah, sorry not to go back and forth this way. Don't want to get you dizzy. Um, I'll show you the individual one. So you can see that question goes away. Everything else stays the same. Don't mind the red, just ignore the red. So while it seems a little long, I swear it goes so fast as long as you've just got the things ready to go. So like your budget's thought through, your timeline template, and then your visual support materials. Those are the main things that you're going to want to have just kind of ready to go to upload. So yeah, hopefully that helps. I don't anticipate the application changing too much, but if it does, it's not going to change too much from what this is. This is a really good idea of just kind of like what you've got to look forward to as you start it. And I can't stress enough, because I do the same thing. It is possible to do it, in a day, but why would you want to? That's so much stress. Um, it's much nicer to kind of take it day by day and go a little easy with it and not try to pour over it all at once and get super worried about it. So yeah, take your time with it, start early, start gathering things as you need to go. Reach out to us if you have any questions. We're happy to help. Stop into Racing Magpie. That's a great way to do it too. We have no issues just like answering any questions you have then about the project. So yeah, please, again, ignore the fall 2026 here. This is just meant to be for whatever application is open at that time. It just happens to be fall 2026 right now. So, yeah, happy application. Um, Applying. I don't know what to say next, but please let us know if you have questions, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.